Hi, so my name's Kyle Dodworth. I'm actually a technical field trainer for GeoTab. So my job is to come out and help our resellers and our clients use our devices and use our software as much as possible to better their business. I've spent over a decade in the world of software and databases, which is one of the things that we do. The most important thing, though, that we do is we manufacture that black box that was mentioned, except this is it. Where's the web? There it is. It's literally this big. Oh, there we go. So this is all that you need. This plus a tablet, a phone, is all you need to actually have to be compliant with our ELD solution. So it's very, very easy to get in, whether you're an owner-operator or you have a fleet. We have over 650,000 of these little devices in the world right now. Our goal is to actually have over 1 million by the end of the year, and that's going to take a lot of the heavy truck market. So this is the actual device, plug and play. It's got a 16-pin OBD end. A lot of new trucks, anything that's like 2014 or higher, has a good chance that it needs just a 16-pin, so you plug it directly into the OBD. This device is the exact same device that we would use if you plug it into your Volkswagen Golf, like mine. It tracks my Volkswagen Golf the exact same way that it would with a heavy truck. It tells me exactly how much emissions I'm spewing, which is great because it's a TDI. Thanks, EPA. If you don't have a 16-pin, we would have harnesses. So we have a harness for a 9-pin. We've got harnesses for 6 pins as well. This is an example of a T-harness. It actually replaces your regular OBD port. You plug your regular OBD in here. Our device goes into this end. Then you can tuck everything up. Here we go. Tuck everything up in the dash, and it leaves your OBD port available so you can still plug in your scan tools and things like that. Very, very easy. Again, it's just to get everything out of the way so you don't end up kicking it or yanking it by accident. We also have straight versions as well. If you don't want to tuck it up under your dash, or if it's a little bit harder to take apart a dash on a heavy, I know that too. So you can do a straight harness as well. But the bottom line is it's plug and play. You don't need to splice any wires. You don't need to take apart the dash if you don't want to. You don't have to go into your engine bay. Literally, you can open the door and you can plug it in to and your device is in. We're also going to be compliant. So we talked a lot about self-registration and who's registered, who isn't. So GeoTab is one of the major players in this space, so we are not going to go ahead and put our name on the list for FMCSA until we are 100% sure that we are compliant. And as Dave mentioned, yes, we are waiting right now to find out how exactly the FMCSA wants to receive the data when we send it to them. As soon as we have that, we can build that into the system, and we can put ourselves up on the list. We'll most likely be doing that end of March or early April, so a good 8 to 9 months early than you absolutely need to be. That being said, the device as it stands right now is AOBRD compliant 100%. So there is absolutely no problem jumping in with the device, with the solution, getting used to it now, because it future-proofs itself. So you'll be AOBRD right now, and you'll be ELD as soon as we certify it. We have one of the most accurate and fast GPS units in the business. So the actual logs that you get are very, very accurate. We'll pull the odometer directly off of your vehicle as long as it's a 2008 or higher, so we don't have to worry about that ping and traveling between 2 different spots. We just pull the odometer when we do that trip directly off of the ECU. We also generate the report for the DOT officer right on the device, so you don't have to, at this point, you don't have to send it out electronically to him. You can actually hand your tablet or your phone directly over to the DOT officer, or if it's mounted, just swivel it so that they can see it, and it will show them everything that they need for that particular stop, all 7 days, all of your logs, all of the carrier information. It's right at their fingertips. And I'll show it when we get into a little demo here. One thing that I'll say right off the bat, though, it does not show him violations at all. We'll show violations to the driver, we can show violations to the driver manager, but the DOT person still has to do it old school, calculate everything himself. No way that we're going to help him do his job any better. So Those are those two harnesses that I talked about and showed them off. If anyone wants to see them. We have different versions for threaded OBDs. There's actually two different versions of those. There's two different versions for screw-ins. We also have a new product coming out that's going to be universal. So if you don't really know what you have, as long as you know it's a 9-pin, you just get the one harness. It's got all the different ends, and then you can put it into anything that has a 9-pin. You can also use a tablet or a phone. So it doesn't matter what it is as long as it connects to the internet on its own. You can use an iPhone, you can use an Android. We have apps for both of them. We recommend a tablet. If you are going to be a heavy user of the system, it's a little better just because it's bigger, but it's a bring your own device idea. So you can bring any device. So I have here my handy dandy Nexus. There's a Nexus 6. Works perfectly fine. And then on iOS, again here, so as I said, I like it a little bit better because it's bigger. But there's it on an iPad mini. So it works on anything. We also update the app independently from the App Store. So if the FMCSA does change something on the fly, we have a team of about 50 people working on what we call GeoTab Drive. We can then push down an application update to all of our mobile devices very, very quickly. So we can be very, very quickly reacting. All right, that being said, let's actually jump into the system itself. So I'm just going to change things around a little bit here on my end. Just a show of hands while I flip this around. Does anyone use an electronic device now for logging, either on their phone or something? All right, so it's not anything that's groundbreaking or new. Most people have played around with it a little bit. All right, so I'm going to actually show off GeoTab Drive in my browser. So it's going to look a little bit different because I'm in a browser. It knows that I'm not a tablet. It knows I don't have Android or iOS, so there's a few things that don't look exactly the same as you might when you jump in. But it works pretty well for demo purposes. So if I'm a driver, the very first thing I have to do in the beginning of the day, jump in my cab, I have to log in. So I boot up the app, I log in, I've got a user ID and a password. That's how we know exactly who it is that logged in. When I log in, the first thing it's going to do is start synchronizing data. This is where it's going to drag from our server all 7 days worth of hours of service logs. That's what it did right there. So now I know that if I get stopped, even if I'm in the middle of the mountains and I have no cellular technology available, I can still do all of the compliance information for that traffic stop because I've downloaded it before I left the city. I'm going to pick which vehicle I'm going to have available to myself. Now, this will actually, for a large fleet, or if you have sharing between your vehicles in a large fleet, it allows the user to actually pick a vehicle. It'll only show them vehicles that are close by. It uses the GPS to make sure that it knows that you can't pick a vehicle on the other side of the country. So I'll just continue on with my vehicle, which is actually sitting on the other side of the country, but because this isn't a real tablet, that's why it lets me do it. And I can also then choose shipments, and I can also choose my trailers. So I'm going to actually continue with a trailer that I had before. It's a reefer trailer that I'm using in this example. And then the next thing it does is it actually goes and looks for unverified logs. So it looks for unclaimed and unverified logs first, and this is how we make sure to always match up driving time with an actual status log that is some type of driving. So there's no way to ignore it. So I did some driving with the vehicle did some driving, and I haven't actually said that it was me yet. This gives me the chance to say that, yeah, those were me. If I don't do this, and I don't assign them to me, when I show off my compliance print to my DOT officer, they're going to show up at the bottom of this particular day and say they're unassigned. That's going to be a red flag. Now, DVIRs, I'm going to skip. But something that we also do is DVIRs. Everyone obviously should be doing them. I have an outstanding DVIR on this vehicle because, as you know, it's a cyclical type of idea. You do your DVIR and you have to redo it every time you drive. I'll skip it for now. If I do jump into the DVIRs, it puts me on duty right away, and it logs how long I took it. So I might actually be able to show that, yes, I did my DVIR, and yes, it took me 30 minutes, Mr. Officer, just like I should. For now, though, I'll skip it. This is a DVIR for my trailer, so it also knows which trailer I connected to, so I can do my DVIR on my trailer. I'll skip that, though, just to get to my home page. On my battery. All right, let's close that. There we go. All right, so there's my home page. Shows me my hours of service, my DVIRs, and I also have messages. Now this is for me. I have access to everything inside of this particular Drive app. You can turn certain things off. So if you only do hours of service, you can just have a giant hours of service button. The dispatch 3KD, there's my vehicle. I can get more information by clicking that and going to my options. But largely the thing you're going to do after logging in is go to hours of service and make sure that you're on duty. Now if I haven't driven yet, that's perfectly fine. I can go do paperwork, I can go back and do my DVR or whatever I need to do while I'm on duty. You'll see that it starts tracking all of my times. I started actually today with 8 hours and 11. I had about 10 hours on my workday. But because I've been walking around while logged in on my tablet, it's counting that as driving because it knows, my tablet knows it's moving around. So that's why it shows me with 5 hours and 52 left. That 5 hours and 52 left, that's going to be the longest amount of time I have until I have to do something. In this case, it's rest, but it could be I only have 5 hours and 52 left until I'm driving. Whatever is the smallest number in that particular list is what's going to show in this particular chart. Once I start driving, I actually don't even have to touch the tablet at all because it knows the vehicle's driving because the device is got its own accelerometer and GPS. Now, that's right now, you have to make sure that your device is plugged in for this to work. But as long as your device is plugged in and charging, as soon as you start moving your vehicle, it's going to flip you over into drive. And you're going to do your driving. As soon as you stop for more than 5 minutes, it's going to flip you back over into on duty and give you those 5 minutes back into your day. So it's completely hands-off until you actually have to either take an off break for your actual break, for your rest, or jump into the sleeper berth, or go off duty for the end of the day. But all of your starting and stopping, your deliveries, you don't have to worry about having to constantly tap onto the device to change everything. Now, I'll go back into drive for a little bit. So if I sit in drive for more than a minute, well, actually, they're perfect. I didn't have to wait a minute. So I just went from 5:51 down to 5:50. So it's going to obviously decrease my time as I go along. And that's really the hardest thing to do on this screen, is just to make sure that you're in the right status at all times. We take care of about half of that by automatically flipping from on to drive or from off to drive as soon as the vehicle moves. And then when the vehicle stops, it'll go from drive back to on. It will not go off duty for you though. So the off duty, you have to make sure to take your rest on your own or jump into the sleeper berth and mark it as sleeper berth when you need to. But otherwise, it does everything else for you and it's super, super easy. Now, I'll keep that as driving for now and I'll get some more time there. I'm going to go along the top of the screen here so we have our graph. Our graph looks pretty much like you would see if it was on paper. Inside of our graph, the colors actually mean something, which are, come on battery, I can plug in, but I may not. So anything that is in yellow means that it was something that was entered after the fact. So I don't obviously actually do hours of service back home in Canada, so I put in a bunch of hours last night, and that's why it shows in yellow. But it's an indication that these hours are done by someone editing or making changes outside of the actual device. The gray is anything that is been entered by the device but hasn't yet been verified. So I haven't verified these, we'll verify them when we log out. If I go backwards, I can start seeing the rest of our days. And I'll go back all the way to the 7 days that I need. Next option is logs. So logs is exactly as you'd imagine. It's a list of all of your logs. So every time that you make that change, every time you go from drive to off or off to drive or drive to on, sit in the sleeper berth, it's going to log all of them. So one thing that we didn't talk about was being able to annotate. So if you want to make a note of this was I was going off duty, having lunch, and it was a fuel stop, or I'm going to go off duty, go in the sleeper berth for a while I'm at a weigh scale, you can annotate each one of these for help so that as you're going through this list, if a DOT officer wants to know more information, maybe you can head that off by actually putting comments in ahead of time. Anything that's already verified is going to have a check mark. So I verified everything else as I go through the list. You'll see it gives me my locations. These are automatic based on the fact that there's a GPS inside of the device. When you put a login, it knows exactly where the device is. So it'll do that automatically, as well as your mileage. So I'm in kilometers because this vehicle happens to be in Canada right now. Obviously, it'd be miles for you guys. It'll automatically track the mileage that you're driving as well, again, because we have the GPS in the device. One thing that I'll note about our specific device is we don't operate on a ping rate. So we don't ask the device where it is at a particular time of day. We don't say every 5 minutes tell me where you are. We actually listen to the GPS data that's coming off the device, the engine data coming off of the device. We have an accelerometer inside as well, so we can even figure out if you get in an accident, we'll know if you hit something or if someone hit you. That's something that we listen to constantly. So we listen to all of that data. So this data that we're getting is 100% accurate. There's no guesswork involved. It's something, again, that going back to the accurate data idea, these are all accurate numbers. And you'll see today I have 0 because my device is sitting back in my driveway in Toronto. It knows that it hasn't actually moved while I've been putting these hours in. Again, that wouldn't happen for you guys because your devices wouldn't be sitting back in Toronto. Verify. So just like before, you had to sign the bottom of your paper logs. You have to electronically sign your electronic logs. So the Verify tab, you just go and click off the ones that you want to verify or have your computer die. Let me know if I can wiggle anything here. So standard exemptions that you might have, so your adverse driving, you can apply for the day. Yard moves, personal use, we have those as well. If we scroll down, information about our carrier or home terminal, what our rule set is. If I happen to need to change my rule set, I can do that on the fly. I can actually tap that, change my rule set. It'll recalculate all of the days that it needs based on that new rule set. Useful, especially if anyone's going up into Canada. So if you have anyone in this area who might be going up to Canada, they may have to switch into the Canadian rule set and then back and forth. You can do that no problem, exact same tablet, exact same hardware. You just have to make sure you change your rule set. That's it. And the very bottom is a button called Generate. And this is how we generate that compliance print if you happen to get stopped. One button click, and then you can hand this tablet to that officer. It's got all 7 days, information about the ELD, the graph, the logs for the day, and there's that unassigned log. So I cleared that off earlier today to make sure that wasn't there. And they can go back for each of the 7 days that they need to. And again, violations will not appear. Violations, even if they're in the system, won't show on this screen. They will only show to you. Now, if I'm sitting here at the end of the day, and, oh, Rexy, yeah?
So, if an officer technically ask, does officer, when you hand the device to them, can they just go through tabs and see what you can see, including the violation?
They are not supposed to. That's the interpretation that we have. That they are not supposed to go and just play around with the rest of the system. We haven't been told that we have to lock that out specifically. However, if we have to password it or something like that, it's a PIN number on that. Yeah, it would be very easy for us to do that if FMCSA thinks it's going to be an issue. It would not be hard to do. So let's say that the end of the day comes, I've made my last stop, or I've used the personal conveyance to get to the hotel, and I'm sitting there and on duty, and I log out. Obviously, this is not what we want, but when we log out, it's going to do a couple things. First off, post-trip DVIR, that's an option, so I'll skip it for now on both my device and my vehicle. Unverified logs. Any unverified logs that you might want to tackle before you log out? Yep, actually, I do want to do that. I will do all of them. Oh, you also happen to be on duty. Are you sure that you should be on duty? Should you switch to off, or did you go into the sleeper berth? Like, oh yeah, I should go off duty, set that new status, it logs me out, and now I'm sitting as off duty. So that was one of the issues that we foresaw, that people would probably forget to switch themselves to off before logging out. So we added this extra piece so that hopefully that's going to solve that. That being said, if you do forget to go off, you can actually go and edit a log directly from this device. It will show up obviously as an edited log, but you can say, nope, that was actually supposed to me be going off duty, and then the system will recalibrate, and away you go. So super easy to use, super easy to install, compliant. We know that this is something that a lot of owner-operators and a lot of drivers are going to be resistive to. In my world, it's sort of easier than paper, simply because I'm never going to lose my phone, because it's an expensive thing. I don't want to buy another one. Paper, that binder, that kind of thing, maybe that gets damaged or maybe it gets misplaced. So I feel that it's easier to use, but we know that it's something that's being pushed down and we don't want to really change. So we've gone into this from the driver perspective, trying to make it as easy as possible. So when we transition off of paper, it's not something where they have to learn from the ground up. Most drivers, we would take maybe 20 to 30 minutes to do like an overview, show them the handbook, show them where to click, and that's usually good enough for them to get going. Once you get familiar with just the hours of service, some of the other things that come alongside of what we already do are things like tracking maintenance. So whether you're an owner-operator or if you have a fleet, because we know the mileage and the engine hours, we can start doing things like, well, let's put a schedule together for our oil changes or for our services, whether they're DOT services that we have to get done or they're things that we want to track ourselves. We can have reminders come out of the system to make sure that you know that an oil change is coming up. The engine hours might be useful for other areas as well. Odometer readings, you can confirm those. Trip histories, you can actually see everywhere that you've gone. I'm down to about a 10-foot accuracy rate. So if a customer says you didn't show up or you showed up late, you could jump in and see exactly when you showed up and prove that you didn't show up late. IFTA mileage as well, we can do that. We can generate a report that shows your IFTA mileage broken down by state. And again, that's because we're pulling the mileage directly off of the ECU, not relying on a calculation between 2 points. We're pulling it directly off that ECU. So it's very, very accurate. Those are all extra benefits that you can get out of the device once you're more familiar with the hours of service piece. So we know that you have to do this because of hours of service, but since you have to do it, you might as well get some other benefits like Dave was get that $1,500 savings because that pays for the device for a couple of years. All right, so right on time. Excellent. Let's open up for questions if you've got them because I'm sure that there'll probably be a lot. Yeah, cost. There you go.
Cost. For the hardware, the little Go 7 device plus the cable, under $100.
Under $100.
You have to bring your own tablet, got it?
Right. It's a BYOD. Bring your own device up for the front end. There's a telematics fee, the monthly fee because the data has to go over whether it's AT&T or the whatever the system is, and I think with GeoTab offers a choice of whether it's T-Mobile or AT&T or
AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon.
I already paid for Verizon, so why do I need to pay for it again?
well, it's the data that comes out of the telematics. That right? So
Because this itself has a SIM card inside. So this has the actual connection, and that's an ELD piece. Yeah, the ELD piece states that it has to communicate independently. So it needs its own connection to whatever cellular service you're dealing with.
So again, the monthly telematics charge is going to be, again, depending on your level of service, $28 to $33 a month. And obviously there's, depending on size of fleets and things like that, can affect that monthly price. And also, I think I was talking about earlier that, that is for the full data set. I mean, to be able to control, your safety and driver performance and get all of that data, that's it's a plan that they call the Pro Plus plan, which is the full data set. But GeoTab has come out with a plan that is, I want to dip my toe in kind of lightly. I just want a limited data set just to control the ELD and maybe the IFTA. There is a less expensive plan, but the data that comes through is going to be limited. That plan can be under $20. So it depends on your plan for the device.
Still 100% compliant though. So even though you get less data, the data that you get is absolutely compliant for the ELD process. So it's a good place to start. You're going to definitely start with just the ELD compliance. Then if you decide, let's get into that maintenance side or into the safety side or maybe the production side if you're a delivery fleet, something like that. Or maybe you want to look into one of our marketplace partners and connect this to your temperature tracking on your reefer trucks or something like that because you have cold chain of custody because that's what you do. That's something you can move into very easily. You don't need to buy a new device. The device itself will work on any of the plans. So going back to that future-proof idea, you can get in at the ground floor, and then as the device can help you win more business or make you more profitable, you can move up into the different plans into some of the other things that it can do.
One thing I found interesting at your conference is that one of the speakers said that what you get your device for today is not going to be how you're going to use it in 2 years because the technology is going to change, your needs are going to change. It's kind of like your smartphone. When you first got your smartphone, I knew to make phone calls, and yeah, it's kind of cool that it takes pictures. But gosh, now there's a whole bunch of apps that I can customize my phone to do what I want it to do. And an open platform like GeoTab offers that flexibility. I mean, you can go on the GeoTab website and look in their marketplace, and you will see these apps. And I think there's 40 or 50 of them in there now. They've got a plan for another 100 to be added in 2017. An interesting story that happened to me. I tested one of the devices, plugged it into my car, and the data, just so that I can get some data and check for the accuracy. And Heather was monitoring my data, and she set it up so every time I was speeding, I get these little buzzes and the lights would go on, and they even have a GeoTalk thing that you can plug in that'll say, "Hey, stop speeding." So I get this text that says, "Dave, stop speeding," and my thing's going on. I was like, yank it out of my car. And then I get an email from GeoTab saying, you may have been in an accident because it just stopped communicating. So you can set it up to notify you of every little tweak, or you can notify you once a week. I mean, it's so customizable into the different rule sets, and they've already have Canada, they've got the U.S., they are in Latin America, they're in Asia. I mean, they know what they're doing. So the data that can come out of there is really amazing. I even after I first got it, I went and I filled up my car with gas, and I got back. I wanted to check my mileage, and so I got in there, and it said I added 15.4 gallons of fuel. I said, well, how did it know that? I checked my receipt. My receipt said 15.7 gallons of fuel. Well, the car told it that I filled my tank with gas, and I mean, that's where it's going. It's just crazy stuff.
And I'll add to that too. I drive a 2002 model that still do that, which is pretty incredible that it has that kind of backward capabilities to read an old model ECM like that and still pull that kind of data, like just the volume of fuel you put into your tank.
You go to the map feature, and it told me where I filled it up and what the name of the gas station was. So, I mean, just incredible as far as.
I have a question.
Yes.
So, still besides the cell phone used data, there's some fee that GeoTab charges? How many?
The monthly, the telematics. Yeah, there's a monthly telematics. Yes.
Okay, so that's besides your AT&T bill, right?
No. So that is
included.
It's
so basically the cost to the driver is going to be to the company is going to be the device and telematics,
right?
Monthly telematics fee. And
right.
Is there like a long time contract or?
Well, with us, we are a relatively new reseller with GeoTab, and our customers are telling us we don't like contracts, so we're not making.
And we don't enforce them ourselves.
How about hardware updates? Like every cell phone, every company changes the hardware every 6 months, every year.
So the two things to be cognizant of about our technology is one, obviously we can improve the product and we can make it cheaper, and so that's just normal. So you've got that kind of side of the things that yes, like what we have now is the Go 7. We have Go 2s that are still in service that are from 2002. They still work. They obviously don't do anywhere near as much as what the Go 7 does. The Go 7 does more than the Go 6. The Go 8, whenever that thing comes out, it'll do more than the Go 7. The highest plan that we have, which is the Pro Plus, which Dave mentioned, includes a lifetime warranty on the device. So
you will update them.
So when the device becomes, when there's a change in the device, so let's say the 7 to the 8, and there's something the 8 does that is critical to your business, then we would be able to upgrade them all. If something happens to a 7 and the 8 is the new one, you would get the 8. No, if you're on Pro Plus, it would be a free upgrade. So one of our customers is Pepsi. You might have heard of them. They've migrated to Pro Plus for all of their devices simply because they don't ever want to have to worry about them. They don't want to have to worry about. The second thing that you have to worry about with telematics devices is the fact that they run on cellular technology. So when AT&T or Verizon or T-Mo sunsets their 2G or their 3G or something like that, if the device is a 2G device, which AT&T just turned that off in October, all of our 2G devices have to be moved over to 3G devices. So if you're on Pro Plus, then you just get a new device that will work. So let's say there's LTE Cat 3 is what we have right now. When Cat 5 comes out and Cat 3 goes away, if you're on Pro Plus, you can get a Cat 5 device. So that is on Pro Plus. If you're not on that though, if you're on one of the smaller price plans, we have Go 7s, over 360,000 of them out in the wild. Inside of my office, there's about 14,000 that have come back on RMA. Out of those 14,000, I can plug about 13,000 of them into a vehicle and they'd be perfectly fine. We just replace them under our RMA process because it's easier. So the failure rate is very, very, very small, about 0.4%. So even if you have that Go 7, it's going to last for a long time, which is why we have UPS trucks running around with Go 2s. They're still up there. So,
Can you move from one truck to
yes.
another?
Yep. Yeah. So once you have the hardware, you can move it around. I mean, you probably want to do that on more of a permanent process. You probably wouldn't want to be doing it every day.
Well, let's say the
But-
truck's used seasonally.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the other trucks that-
You got it, yeah. Like, well, we have the exact thing with municipalities. They plug them into their tow or their salt trucks or their snowplows in the winter. You guys have those here, right? Snowplows, kind of.
One or two.
Yeah. So they plug them into their snowplows in the winter, and then they plug them into their gardening vehicles in the summer. So it's a seamless transition.
Another question. Can a motor carrier set the movement threshold when it goes from on duty to automatic driving, or is it based on just movement?
It's based on our threshold. So there are some baked-in thresholds to a lot of areas of the system. Usually it's somewhere around like 12 miles an hour. But in terms of the movement piece is actually done with all of the device. There's an accelerometer inside as well, plus the GPS, and plus RPMs that we're getting off of the vehicle. So we determine movement in a lot of different ways and a lot of redundant ways, just to make sure that when we do flip it, it's an actual correct flip that we're moving, and we don't want to do it erroneously. But,
Okay. Some of the clients that I talk to, they don't want their drivers handling cell phones or tablets. We've already encountered this. So I know that GeoTab has a partnership or relationship with Garmin, and that Garmin manufactures a mounted in-cab device to interface with the ELD system. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I can talk very briefly because Garmin hasn't told us anything. But what we do know is what Garmin has right now in terms of their hours of service solution. It is AOBRD right now.
Right.
We have not heard how they're going to be ELD compliant and if they are going to be. I would assume they would be. That seems to be a piece of the market that they'd want to take. There are also Android-based Garmin devices, and we have an Android-based application. So the possibility is there that you can get that Garmin device to connect to the internet. You could then put our service app on it, and then you'd have sort of the best of both worlds. So they are still a partner of ours, though, because obviously we're not going to get rid of the AOBRD solution until we have to. I hope to get more information from Garmin soon. But yeah, that's another option. I should also mention too that when you are driving, the device does go into a locked out mode, so that you can't actually change your status as you are driving. It only shows you the bar of your hours. And we also have partners that can introduce a physical lockdown of a device. If you're worried about the driver using their own device or something like that, one of our partners is Dock and Lock. It's actually a pretty cool little. It's a box that locks, and you have to lock your phone in there. And if you don't lock your phone in there, you can actually have alerts and emails and things like that. And it's just kind of another solution if you're worried about drivers like that. Back over to your question. Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. Great.
So, in our operation, what does we move heavy equipment? So, you'll come off the freeway, get off the county road, stop, some wheels, some Jeep. So it takes him 10, 15 minutes to do that. So he'll hit the on duty, not driving.
So it would do it automatically for him after he stops for 5 minutes. But yeah, he could also hit
So
it
he gets
manually.
back
Yeah.
on the truck, he runs up the county road, then we turn off the county road onto one of our rock logging roads. And when he might do 20 miles an hour up the county road. When he turns off on a drug road, he's dropping in low gear where he might be able to do 3 miles an hour. So when will it go on duty? Driving.
It would stay on duty. It's not going to flip him to stay driving. It wouldn't flip him to on. As I was saying, we use more than just the GPS calculator. Yeah, because we check the RPM, and even though you may not be utilizing the accelerometer for a rule, or it may not even be something that's enabled in your plan, we can still use it for detecting that it's moving, even that forward reverse to know that it's moving. So I haven't heard of any example of it flipping from drive to on low speed. And at the same time, I haven't heard of it doing the opposite either. Because if he stopped for some reason, let's say, and then he started again while he's doing those, it should still realize that it's driving because of those different checks that it's got.
There's also what geofencing does. You're able to take any place on the map and draw a fence around it. So when the truck enters that fence, it records that activity and how long it's there, and probably the distance within that fence. And
I can see where that might be handy for your miles that you pay for the state.
yeah, the mileage for off-road.
Yeah.
Off-road.
You're not
Yeah.
having to pay.
Yeah, we have a
Exactly.
that actually even better than that. Well, it's in conjunction with that though. Is that if you can, there are different types of mapping files that we can actually import. So we could actually import that. I mean, one of our clients in New York imported all of the unassumed roads as geofences, so now they can get money back on their FDA. So yeah, that's
We do it like that now. We don't pay mileage on off-highway miles.
Yeah.
But this provides the backup record keeping that you need in an
yeah.
audit.
So if they audit you,
This
you
is
can say,
where
no,
it
that's
was.
exactly what it
Here,
was.
you have to subtract out those miles you don't have to pay for before your report's going to go
The
to the state.
Well, we don't do the report for the state, so because there's a lot of other information you've got to add to it than what we have. We have partners that will do the whole report for you once they talk to you and you integrate with them. But the stock basic report wouldn't, but you could easily modify it to add more data and pull it
It
out.
might come in the future.
Yep, that's you.
See, that's
That's the other thing. I mean, I work with. I basically we're a company of about 350, and I would say 250 of those people have engineering backgrounds. We're an engineering firm first and foremost. So that's why the device is the best in the world. Is that we make the device first, make sure the device is rock solid. Then we work on things like the websites and the web interfaces and whatnot. So we can be very reactive to things like that. Right now, we're obviously very, very, very focused on ELD. Almost everything that we're doing right now is on ELD, on Drive, making sure that we are going to be able to support this gigantic piece of the market. It's probably over 2 million vehicles that is the market. But once that's done, then we'll be able to start going back to new features and things like that. But you're kind of in a nice little part of the development cycle, because pretty much everything that comes out is ELD related right now. You're getting all the newest and greatest stuff.
All right. Any other questions?
Is Alex count?
The truck is in the drive, it's in a long drive.
No.
No.
Because you can be in a drive gear and you can be stopped and idling. So we don't use just one. We don't use one variable. It's there. I think you mentioned algorithms. One of our big coups is that we have what's called the curve algorithm, and the curve algorithm takes all of these billions of data points that we have, or even the millions of data points that your device is generating every day, and it determines what it needs to do with all of those data points. So when it comes to moving, and so the actual driving and vehicle moving, it uses more than just GPS, drive gear, accelerometer. It uses all of it together, and it knows if something is out of whack out of those, it's not going to say that you're driving. So it's smart enough to do it. It's going to know that the vehicle's on, but it's not going to show that you're driving. So it's going to show that it's an idle.
And then I maybe already heard it once, but I'm not sure. So in the 5 minutes of not driving, so you're marked to get out. I don't know what, when you do whatever it is you do, it's less than 5 minutes. Does that still leave you a driving status?
So if you stopped for less than 5 minutes?
It's 4 minutes, or is there?
Yeah,
I don't
so
understand how that.
So if once it hits the 5 minutes, then it assumes that you have stopped for for more than 5 minutes, well, it knows you've stopped for more than 5 minutes, but it assumes that that is going to be a position where you should go back to on duty. So it's going to then flip you back to on duty, and then it's going to subtract those 5 minutes off of your driving time. So if it is going to be a stop for that you should be on duty for less, so it's like a 4-minute delivery, and you're concerned about those 4 minutes, then yes, you'd want to manually move back to on. Now, that being said, let's say you made 100 4-minute deliveries in the day and you didn't log any of them as on duty, you might want to go and manually add those back in, which you can do. They'll show up as edited logs, but you can then go back in and you could add in those changes if you wanted to get more hours back. And the thing is that if the DOT officer really pushed and said, well, why are you putting all these in? You said, well, those were deliveries. I was stopped. If you wanted to look into it, you could bring up the map and you can show your trip and it'll say, yep, see there, I'm stopped. I'm not moving. So you have the trip history to back up those changes. It's not that you're doing it to try to get another hour's, an hour worth of driving or something like that. But that would be a case where if that's going to come up, you train your drivers into that particular case. So we have training that's a little different for long haul versus short haul versus delivery versus things like that too.
All right, you bet, thanks. What's really cool, they've got a lot of their training material in different languages already. So sometimes somebody might not, English might not be their first language, so trying to train them. Have the ability of some of these material being in Spanish or whatever.
Like the driver handbook, the guide that you have to have in the cab, so the FMCSA says that the driver has to be able to read over how to use the ELD at all times. We have it already, obviously, in English and Spanish. Plus, we also have videos that can be loaded onto the tablet as well, so that if they want to watch a video of it, it's already ready to go.
Now it's used, they can just watch this YouTube video. So
would that video be loaded to the tablet, so we wouldn't necessarily have to put that?
Either or,
So we wouldn't necessarily have to have a paper book or the paper manual?
No, right now, the interpretation of the FMCSA rule is that you have to have the actual paper as well. So we have a one-pager that you want to print out and give to each one of your drivers, laminate it, put it into the glove box just so it's there. And then on top of that, your carrier obviously has to have the AOBRD certificate in home office as well, or ELD certificate when it comes out and you certify. But we actually have a sort of checklist. So when a reseller is helping you with that, so with Glowstone, when they're helping set that up, we have here's what you need, do this, 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 and this, make sure all of this is complete so that if you set this up and you set your driver out for the first time and he got pulled over 20 feet from your office, everything would still be perfectly set and ready to go. So we help our resellers to make sure that they know all the little things that they have to do to make sure that you're still compliant. I'll admit there is a lot. There's a lot of little things that you've got to check, but we've got it down to a pretty good science now.
That's, I think 5 years from now, everybody's going to be on ELDs, and the skill of the driver to be able to create a paper log is going to be lost. If they're going to have ELD breaks, how do I fill out a paper? I have no idea because I wasn't brought up. I lost that skill because I don't think the FMCSA has realized that yet. But
on that note, I think on that note too, I think you're looking at catastrophic hardware failure if our ELD solution were to break. You would have to have some type of catastrophic failure to your actual hardware for ours to break. And again, the device itself isn't going to break. It'd be something on your phone, like if you dropped your phone in the toilet or something, and you're kind of in trouble.
Yeah.
Question for you, Dave. We've got a small fleet. We've probably got 8 trucks that we're required to give the guys over 12 hours a day to the law.
Right.
Time sheets, because we run them short haul rules 99% of the time. Maybe 2 trips a year to just north of the border to pick up trees for tree lights. We've got 3 drivers after going through all the time sheets for the last 3 years. We've got 3 main drivers that probably end up in the summertime in 3 months. If in the summertime busy time, that they go over 8 times in a 30-day period. So we're thinking just with ELDs in those trucks. And then the rest of the guys that are comfortable with those paper logs really well. So what's your thought?
Well, you're maintaining two systems, and you know, it's certainly legal and it's certainly doable. You know, if you can manage, you know, both pieces, and that, you know, the guy that's used to the ELD now gets switched to a truck that isn't ELD. He is going to need to understand the difference and keep those paper log skills going.
So maybe we do 3 trucks now and then
Yeah.
just work our way into the rest of it.
Yeah, you know, and again, I think there's beyond ELD. I mean, just putting in the device and burying it under the dashboard just to get the data out of it. Maybe you're not using it for ELD, but you know, tracking the guy's productivity, how long did he park, and how long was he off road, and I mean, all of that stuff becomes available to you to help manage.
Yeah, I gave a little, like, quick little story. One of the resellers I onboarded earlier in the year needed to get a sale. He's like, I got to get these out in the wild. I've only got 3 guys working for me. I call a buddy of mine who's got a small delivery fleet in New York. So they got 9 devices. So guys are like, sure, you know what? I'm your buddy. I'll do it. So plugs in these 9 devices. He's like, it's going to be kind of cool to watch them like driving around New York City. That's going to be really neat. First day, logs in, realizes half the vehicles sit and idle for 4 hours a day. Realizes that if that didn't happen, he would save enough money to pay for the whole system for the whole year. However, going in, everything's fine. It's going to be cool. Like, watch everything. It's going to be a neat little thing. I'm helping my buddy out. Had no idea that his vehicles were just not being turned off when they parked. So you don't know what you don't know. And the stuff that comes out of the device when you start looking into the other information is just, it's incredible. Idling is one big one. Fuel, obviously, is money. And the other quick story, too, we have an elevator company, an elevator service company, and they were not really concerned, but they wanted to make sure that when their guys were working, that they were working efficiently as possible. So they had a rule that said if a vehicle stopped for more than an hour during the workday that wasn't at lunch, to send an email over to their driver manager. And it happened one morning. So about like 9 o'clock in the morning, because their hours were like 8 to 5 kind of thing. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, they got an email saying that one of their vehicles was stopped during the day for more than an hour. And it was really kind of weird. So they looked and they were like, that's this guy's house. This guy hasn't even left yet. That's really weird. Just in case, they went in, they found that one of their other vehicles was close to their location, so they dispatched them over to that location. The other driver pulled up, yep, there's our work truck, knocked on the door, no answer. Called him, no answer. Peered in through the front door, realized the guy had a heart attack and was unconscious and had about 15 minutes to live. So without the system, he wouldn't be with us anymore. And that was a productivity rule. It obviously was never designed to save someone's life, but because they were looking at productivity and the rule took 30 seconds to enter, that guy's alive. And I mean, that's pretty awesome that it's a little tiny device that saves someone's life, but we also have lone worker solutions and satellite backups and things like that for anyone that needs it. So the possibilities are endless, from just saving money to saving a life. It's sort of, it's a really wide breadth, but
How does that lone worker system work?
There's an Iridium version where you can actually ping the Iridium every hour, and if the person doesn't respond, then it assumes that there's an issue. There's alert buttons as well. So there's panic buttons that you can install in the cab that communicate through the device, and then we have partners that actually have wearables as well. So if you want something wearable, that's an emergency button that you can have on your hip, and then that'll send through the device and send a note that someone's pressed the alert. So lots of different options.
Yeah. Awesome.
You mentioned the telematic type. I'm looking at the checklist from the FMCSA, and it talks about a local transfer type unit using a USB or a Bluetooth. Do you offer that option as well? So you use this one?
No, so yeah, again, interpretation-wise, the reason why is Bluetooth's not secure. This little guy here, you probably heard of the Jeep that got hijacked, and they crashed the Jeep through, yeah. So that was using a non-secure device. So there's devices that are out there that are, let's say, third-party, and they're sort of generic. They're not secured. Ours is secured end-to-end. So we actually secure from the time that it receives data from the machine, the ECU, it's secured in the device, it's secured when it transfers up into the carrier, it's secured from the carrier when it comes back down into the server. Bluetooth can't do that at all. So that's why we don't do it. We do have Bluetooth solutions, but it's not for transferring any type of data that would be private data. Not to say that it isn't an option, it's just not one that we are probably ever going to commit to. Unless they can figure out a way to secure it in the same way that you can with all of the other technology, I don't see us going into it simply because the data is, there's just too much good data there that people want to get their hands on. So we do penetration testing, we do hackathons. Our security expert is one of the best in the world. We actually took him out of retirement. We found him and said, you got to come work for us. And we pulled him out of retirement so that he can help us with security. Security is probably the #1 thing that we deal with. Hence why when I log into my computer, it needs to be 12 characters long with uppercase and lowercase and yada yada. You guys know that because we force it on our resellers. So yeah, the Bluetooth is an option, and I'm sure there'll be solutions out there, but I would question the security simply because you're dealing with technically the ability to crash your car. And I don't know if you want to put that through something that doesn't have like secure transmission.